6 regions, one night: Saratov, Tatarstan, Bashkortostan, Voronezh, the Black Sea, the Sea of Azov. Ukraine did not strike one target on the night of July 7th to 8th. It struck the entire Russian fuel supply chain simultaneously, from the refineries that produce the fuel, to the tankers that carry it, to the airfield that supports the forces that depend on it. This is the video that explains what happened, why it matters, and what the single number that frames this entire campaign tells you about where this war is heading. Welcome back. Let's establish the full scope of what Ukraine executed in a single night, because the scale requires laying out in sequence. Target 1. The Saratov oil refinery, 800 kilometers from the front. Part of Rosneft. Annual capacity, 7 million metric tons. CDU-6, the refinery's only crude distillation unit, was reportedly hit. The refinery halted processing on July 8th. Confirmed by Reuters. Zelensky confirmed the strike publicly. Targets 2 and 3. In Tatarstan, Ukraine struck both the Tanako and Taif and Kabe refineries in Nizhnekamsk, 1,400 kilometers from the front. Both are among Russia's largest and most modern processing facilities. Tanako achieves a refining depth of 99%, meaning it extracts more usable product from each ton of crude than almost any other plant in Russia. Taif NK has a combined processing capacity exceeding 8 million tons per year. Large fires confirmed at both sites by verified satellite footage. Target 4. A fuel storage facility in Ufa, Bashkortostan, 1,500 kilometers from the front. Ukraine struck this city twice in the same week. Target 5. The Borisoglebsk military airfield in Voronezh region, 300 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. And simultaneously, 9 tankers from Russia's Shadow Fleet, 1 in the Black Sea, 5 in the Sea of Azov, 3 more in the Kerch Strait, all carrying fuel from Russia to the besieged Crimean Peninsula. This brings the total number of Shadow Fleet tankers struck 3 consecutive nights to 19. One night, 6 regions, multiple refineries, 9 ships, 1 airfield. Zelensky put the geography into words himself. Today, our long-range sanctions reach the Saratov region, Tatarstan, and Bashkortostan, roughly 800, 1,400, and 1,500 kilometers from the front line. They also reach the Voronezh region, which is about 300 kilometers from our border. He called it, again, long-range sanctions, not a military strike, a sanctions policy, applied by drones instead of diplomats. Now, let's put this inside the statistical context, because there is one number that defines what 2026 has actually been. According to the Financial Times, since the beginning of 2026, Ukraine has carried out at least 194 attacks on Russian oil refineries. That is 11 times more than in all of 2025. Let that ratio register. 11 times more in 1 year. And the effect is visible in Russia's own data, or rather, in the data Russia has stopped publishing. The weekly fuel price and availability report from Rosstat was quietly canceled in June. Because the numbers had become too damaging to release, what we know from independent sources, more than 55 of Russia's 83 federal regions are implementing fuel rationing. Russia has banned most gasoline and diesel exports. Moscow approached Kazakhstan for emergency supplies. Uzbekistan canceled flights due to jet fuel shortages. Kazakhstan is now considering importing fuel from China. Russia, one of the world's largest crude oil producers, cannot produce enough refined fuel for its own population and military simultaneously. That is the direct consequence of 194 attacks in 7 months. And before we connect this to the front, one more data point that places the 194 attacks in human terms. Russia launched 137 attack drones against Ukraine in just the overnight period of July 8th to 9th. That is 1 night of Russian retaliation for a year's worth of Ukrainian campaign. Russia is firing back with everything it has, and Ukraine is continuing to hit refineries. The asymmetry tells you which side is more affected by the exchange. Now, connect this to the front. Ukraine's Chief of Staff, General Syrskyi, stated after a review of the first half of 2026 that Ukraine has halved Russia's rate of advance compared to the same period in 2025. The enemy attempted to launch a large-scale offensive but failed to achieve any of its objectives despite having an almost twofold advantage in personnel and equipment. A twofold advantage: halved rate of advance. The gap between what Russia has and what it is achieving with it is the direct signature of the fuel and logistics campaign. And here is where the night of July 7th to 8th becomes something more than a series of impressive strike reports. The Saratov refinery was not a new target. Taif NK had been struck before. Ufa had been struck before. What is new is the simultaneity. Ukraine hit major processing facilities across 6 different regions in the same night, meaning Russian air defense, already thinned by months of losses, had to respond to threats from multiple vectors at once. That is not a strike campaign anymore. That is a doctrine of deliberate overload. And think about what overload actually costs Russia. Every drone alert triggers emergency protocols. Airports suspend flights, roads are closed, emergency services placed on standby. In Saratov, the airport suspended arrivals and departures. In Tatarstan, both Kazan and Nizhnekamsk airports introduced flight restrictions. These disruptions multiply the economic cost of each strike far beyond the physical damage at the refinery itself. This is the compounding logic of the campaign. Each refinery struck reduces fuel production. Less fuel means fewer sortie-capable aircraft and fewer operational air defense systems. Fewer air defense systems means the next wave of drones faces even less resistance. The campaign does not just degrade Russia's fuel supply, it degrades Russia's ability to defend against the campaign itself. A self-accelerating loop that gets harder to interrupt with each passing week. Russia cannot concentrate its diminishing air defense resources to protect every refinery at once. It cannot track and intercept drones approaching from different directions across 6 regions in the same night. The gaps that allowed a single FP-1 drone to reach Omsk at 2,700 kilometers now exist across a much shorter range, and Ukraine is flying through all of them simultaneously. Military analysts now describe a possible ceasefire as early as autumn 2026 as one of the realistic outcomes. Not because Ukraine has defeated Russia on the battlefield, but because Russia's war economy is being systematically made unsustainable, refinery by refinery, tanker by tanker, night by night. Here is the one fact that ties all of this together, and that most coverage has missed. Before July 6th, there were 2 refineries among Russia's top 10 that had never been struck. One was Omsk. The other is the Angarsk Petrochemical Company in the Irkutsk region, roughly 3,400 kilometers from the front, beyond the confirmed range of the FP-1ER, beyond the range of any Ukrainian drone currently in confirmed operational use. After July 6th, there is only one. Angarsk is the last safe refinery in Russia, and consider what that means for Russian energy planners right now. Angarsk produces roughly 10 million tons of refined product per year and supplies Siberia and the Russian Far East. It was the ultimate fallback, the one refinery so remote that it could compensate if everything else failed. Now everything else has failed. Ukraine has already demonstrated it can reach Omsk. The question is not whether Angarsk is next. The question is whether Ukraine is already planning the route. 194 attacks in 7 months, 11 times more than last year, and one refinery left that has never been touched.